Which distributors are the best for CPG brands? Getting into stores is one thing, but staying on the shelf and scaling nationally, that's where distribution comes in and it makes a big difference. That's a whole nother thing. But here's the problem. When it comes to picking, you have to make sure you pick the right distributor, because if you pick the wrong one, you could burn all your money and lose control of your brand and lose time, energy. But if you pick the right one, it can open the doors up to you to be in so many different retailers and so many different accounts across the world. Today, we're going to take another deep dive into which distributor is best for you. I know we discussed this in another video, but this time we're going to go deeper into it so you can get a better sense of understanding about all the different distributors out there when it comes to retail, grocery, on-premise, specialty, DSD companies, and everything else. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which company you should be working with, who you should be targeting, and since we do everything in steps, I want to let you know. Here is step one for you. Grocery and natural food distribution. When it comes to grocery and natural food distribution, most people think about the two main players in this business, and that would have to be Unify and that have to be KE. And of course, if you didn't know, Unify stands for United Natural Foods Incorporated, and they're one of the largest distributors, and they mostly distribute to natural businesses like Whole Foods, and they do a lot of different businesses. They do Sprouts and other places like that, like Trader Joe's and things like that. They encompass a lot of that. That's what Unify does. And you also have the second biggest player, which would be KE, is their closest rival, and they're strong also in natural as well. And they do specialty groceries as well too. They're mid-sized and also regional, and they do a lot of Sprouts, and they also work with a lot of emerging brands that want to start off with KE as well too. And they also do other places as well, like Walmart, that you may know of. But if you're building a brand that's a better for you type of brand, and you're wondering if you should go with Unify or KE, I would say don't rush, because if you get in them too early, it could be a major hit for you, because both brands take a big cut. They usually take about 15 to 25%. And if you already don't have the demand, if you already don't have people going to the store looking for you, you could jump in only for you to be discoed out, and then now you're starting all over. So step two, convenience store distributors. When it comes to convenience store distributors, there's a lot of them out there, and you have to make sure you understand which one is best for you. When it comes to this type of market, when it comes to C-stores or local grocery stores, the DSD distributors out there that they have is Core-Mark. They also have McLean. If you didn't know, Core-Mark does a lot when it comes to C-stores. It's all over the place. It does a lot of deliveries. It drops off at different distributors, different C-stores, 7-Eleven, and other independents. And then you got McLean. McLean is heavy in 7-Eleven. 15% of 7-Eleven's business comes from McLean. So they do a lot when it comes to 7-Eleven, Circle K, and other independent stores. You have to ask yourself, do you want to go to Core-Mart or do you want to go to McLean? Because McLean also does C-stores, but they also supply to Walmart, and they also supply to other places as well too, because they do a lot of wholesale type of things when it comes to grocery. But if you're asking me what the play would be for your business starting out, depending on if you're a beverage or if you're a snack or depending on what it is, I would go straight DSD. DSD is the way to go. Direct store delivery. And what does that mean? Direct store delivery. DSD allows you to work with local distributors in your certain area or cities, and it allows you to work with them that not only do they sell into these different C-stores, not only do they sell into these different gas stations and sell into these different grocery stores, it allows you to be able to have a better pulse of what's going on around. There's different ones in different areas. Let's just say you're in Texas. Texas has Jack Hilliard. If you're in the West Coast, they have Columbia. If you're on the East Coast, they have Manhattan Beer. If you're in Florida, they have J.J. Taylor. When you work with these local DSD distributors, especially if you have a drink, if you have maybe a snack, it works out a lot better for you. If you're coming in with a snack, a drink, or beer, it works out because what you could do is you could work with these local DSDs And a lot of these DSDs, they're mostly beer houses. And when we say beer houses, that means they mostly sell beer, but they also have an NA department. And the NA is non-alcoholic department. And since they also have an NA department, they'll also go into the store to sell beer, and then they'll also go into the store to distribute the NAs. And if you have, like I said, a beverage or a snack that you're able to bring in or they're able to put on their truck, then you could do a ride along with the rep, sell into a 7-Eleven. They could deliver it to a 7-Eleven. They could deliver it to a convenience store that may be a mom and pop. They could deliver it to a local grocery store, whatever it may be. They're able to sell into those type of places, and it helps you out when it comes to being able to go in. And then you be able to do a ride along with those local distributors. It just helps out a lot better. With Core-Mark and McLean, it's a little bit harder to do ride-alongs with them because they're so big, they're so massive, they're moving all the time. At my last company, we used McLean, and I never remember ever a time where we did a ride-along with a McLean rep. We maybe talked to them and tried to get them to do better, but we never did a ride-along with them. That's why I would say stick with the DSD guys that have the local distributors that are regional. The DSD guys, each market has their own people. Like I said before, those different companies, they're all in different states. You have to pretty much talk to each one, set up a meeting with each one in each state, and then sign a contract with them. If you start distributing in Florida, you might have to sign a contract with J.J. Taylor. If you start distributing in Texas, you might have to sign a contract with Benny Keefe or Jack Hilliard. If you distribute in California, you might have to sign one with Columbia or another distributor, depending on who it is. But you'll have different ones in different areas. But it does come in handy, and it's a lot better because you'll be able to work with the rep, get a relationship with the rep, and then be able to work hand in hand when it comes to pushing your product in different stores, getting displays, and all those type of things. Step 3, on-premise. One of the benefits about getting on-premise and expanding your brand, whatever your brand may be, let's say your brand is drinks or your brand is a snack or whatever it may be, if you start dealing with on-premise, dealing with a beer house distributor, it means they're already going on-premise already as it is. Since they're already selling to a lot of restaurants, bars, and everybody else like that already, it works out very well in your favor because now since they're already doing that, it won't be a problem if, let's just say, you have a seltzer that's not alcoholic and you want to get into this restaurant. They're already going to that restaurant. It makes it easier for you to roll right in there and be like, hey, we want to start doing on-premise XYZ. They'll be able to roll you right on into it, and then they'll be able to help you get into that on-premise account because they're already going to those locations. Now, if you have a distributor that only does NAs and doesn't do on-premise, then that kind of becomes a little bit tricky where you might have to start rolling in other distributors, whether it be smaller ones or some people may use a Shamrock or a Vistar, depending on where it is. They may use those, but it all pretty much varies because majority of the time when you go to DSDs, depending on where you are, majority of DSDs are all beer houses, meaning the beer house is what 90% of the business is and then 10% is NAs. But lately, as due to a lot of people not drinking no more, the next generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, the NA market is going up higher. If you're able to get onto a house that does beer already and you're able to come in and work with them in the NA department, it works out too for you. They'll be pushing you to convenience stores, grocery stores, and then when it's time for you, if you want to go on premise, it works out well also for you. Now, you're saying to yourself, Eric, I don't have a beverage. I don't have a snack. I have food. Should I still use one of these local DSDs that you just named? A J.J. Taylor, a Benny Keefe, a Jack Hilliard? Should I still use them if I have a product that's like an oatmeal or a warm-up dish or anything like that has to be in the freezer? I would say no. You need to definitely go through Unify and KE because those individuals work better with having the capacity and having the ability to have your product go from, your warehouse right to the store and being able to put it into the freezer so that you'll be able to be good with that. These local DSD guys I'm saying are all for people who are using or selling beverages, whether it be non-alcoholic beverages, energy drinks, or even just selling snacks. Meaning that if they're selling chips or if they're selling candy, you could use these DSD type of guys. But if you have a food that needs to be cold an ice cream or anything like that, you definitely need to go through Unify, KeHE, or you need to go through McLean or Core-Mart, because they're more suitable to have the proper trucks that you'll need to get your product into the store. So if you are going through that direction and you have a food in that area or that lane where your product is something that's cold, or it has to be from truck to store, or it has to be any of that type of thing, then I would tell you is, hey, you need to focus on what can you do to have the best relationship in each of your stores. Meaning, if you're going to work with McLean, if you're going to work with Core-Mart or any of them, you got to make sure that you try to press to get as many McLean reps as you can and create a relationship with them, and try to do the best that you can to hopefully do a ride-along. Like I said before, when we worked with them before, we never really got too many ride-alongs. We may have talked to a rep here and there, but if your business is built on that, you should try all you can to do to get a ride-along with a McLean rep, meet them at stores, and the same thing for Core-Mart as well, too. I'm sure it's possible. At the time when we started working with them, they were a little bit like, our product wasn't really selling that well. But I guarantee you, if we would have pushed the envelope, I guarantee we probably could have got something. Because I ended up doing some ride-alongs with the Unify rep and the KeHE rep. That just goes to show you, if you push, you can make it happen. You just got to find the numbers. So I say all that to say, if you have a product that's cold and it has to go from the truck to the freezer, then you definitely need to go with a Unify, a KeHE, a Core-Mart, or McLean. But if you're able to, I will go with Core-Mart and go with McLean starting off, because they'll probably take less cuts than a Unify and a KeHE will in the beginning. If you can get away with just using the Core-Mart and McLean in the beginning to get your cold product to Walmart and to all these other stores and the 7-Elevens, I would use them first before I would go with the Unify and a KeHE. But if you couldn't and you had to, the Unify and KeHE would be my last resort. I only want to go with Unify and KeHE when I've already established myself, established the stores I'm going to be in, and I have a firm base of people who I know are going to be going out requesting and looking to purchase my product. Because Unify and KeHE are going to take out more, and Unify and KeHE don't really care. You're going to hit you with so many chargebacks, it's going to be ridiculous on things you didn't even expect. You got to make sure you have the funds, you got to make sure you have the support, and you got to be making sure you have enough personnel and people that you're ready to deal with all the craziness that comes with working with them. That's just part of the business. You could Google it as we speak. People all the time going back and forth with Unify and KeHE for all the chargebacks and charges they give people over all kind of crazy things. That's why it's very important that you understand the difference when it comes to this whole distribution type of business. People get confused and think all distribution is the same. All distribution is not the same. It is not the same because you need to know what type of product you have. What is your product? If your product is a beverage, then yes, you can use one of the small DSD companies that I said before. The Jack Hilliard, you could use the Benny Keith, the JJ Taylors, the Columbia. You could use one of those if you have a beverage or energy drink or even a snack. I saw on some of the websites, some distributors even distribute like sour strips. They were using a local DSD at one point, sour strips to candy, the one that got sold to Hershey's. They were using a small DSD distributor at one point, because if you think about it, it's a candy and they're already going into Walmart. So they can take your candy, put it on the shelf, and it's no problem. It's not nothing that's cold. They can have your product in a warehouse, have it sit, and it won't go bad. But if your product is a product that has to be cold, if your product is a product that needs to be making sure that it's refrigerated so that it won't go bad, then yes, you're putting yourself into a higher, different distributor. And that distributor would be a McLean, Core-Mart, a Unify, KeHE, because those type of guys have the trucks, have the logistics, have the bandwidth to be able to carry your product from truck to store and have it be on the truck cold at least as well too. That's why it makes a big difference. And then on top of that, when you have a product like a beverage and you're working with a distributor, and like I said before, that has a wheelhouse, then it makes it easier for you to slide right on up into it. Step 4, specialty and emerging brand distribution. Now, if you're an emerging brand, and like I said, you're just starting out and you're looking to jump right at Unify, I would just wait on that, especially if you're just starting out of the gate. You just figure out everything. Because, like I said in another video, you will shine better doing D2C. Or you'll do better with DSD, especially just starting out. If you're just starting out, getting your feet wet, Just go D2C until you're ready. They also have other platforms like Rainforest Distribution, which is based out of New York, New Jersey, and they focus on natural and emerging brands. And they're a new kind of company that's coming around. And then they also have Pod Foods, which is a tech-enabled platform that connects startups with stores to help eliminate the whole traditional distribution problem. But once again, these two companies I just named, they're all brand new, so they're all growing in the CPG brand and space. And then you also have Vistar and Canteen. They work with non-tread. Canteen works with a lot of vending machines and works with a lot of non-tread accounts being in vending machines and like businesses and on-campus type of businesses in the sense where like a WeWork, a Google, those type of places and things like that. And then you got Vistar that deals with different places like a bookstore, on campus, a grocery store, whatever it may be. That's what Vistar works with. When it comes to distribution, there's just so many types of distribution. But please remember, when I said Vistar and Canteen, you have time before you jump to Vistar and Canteen. Vistar and Canteen are a long ways if you're just starting out. If you're just starting out, Vistar and Canteen, you don't even need to really think about them in the beginning, because Canteen deals with, like I said before, deals with vending machines, and Vistar deals with campuses, bookstores, and they're both non-tread type of accounts, non-traditional accounts. And if you're just starting out, you need to go and get your foundation first. And your foundation would be getting your DSD down, getting your distributor down, your local areas, or even getting your Unify and your KE down. Those are the things you need to work on first. And then start branching out to those later on down the line, which would be the Vistar and the Canteen, getting on campuses, getting into vending machines and stuff like that. Those will come later on down the plan for your growth expansion. But in the beginning, you need to get your DSD down. You need to get your distributor down. Whether if you have a cold product, you need to be using Unify, KE, or you need to be using Core-Mark or McLean. Or if you have a beverage, using your local distributor. That could be like a J.J. Taylor, a Jack Hilliard, and then at the same time working on getting into different grocery stores. And if you get into natural, then you need to be using the Unify, you need to be using the KE if you get into them. So those things come first. That foundation comes first. Vistar and Canteen, they're like level 9 and 10. They come later after you've got your foundation and you have everything else completed first. Because Vistar and Canteen take a lot more time. And not only do they take a lot more time, they require you to already have people who want to purchase the product. Because if you get into those locations or you sign on with them and you get into a vending machine, you want to make sure people recognize you. And when they see you and they recognize you, they want to go buy you. You want to make sure that when you start pitching to a Google that has a vending machine on their location, or they have a Vistar that delivers over there, you want to make sure that people already know what your product is so that people at Google will want to purchase it or get it for free. Really, Google, that gives the product out for free. But I'm just saying, any work office building, whoever, if they have a retail or a vending machine, you want to make sure if you're sold there that people know who the product is and they want to purchase it. Just know those things take time, and that's level 9, 10. But the foundation is getting your DSD. Your foundation is finding your local distributor in your area if you have a beverage or if you have a product that needs to be frozen and gone right into the store. That will be your foundation first. So, yes, those are my closing remarks. And overall, if you have to ask me, I would definitely do the DSD route first. And it just works out better. Because like I said before, if you go DSD and you work with a DSD that has a beer house and they also do NAs, that's a win-win for you, because you'll be able to sell into the 7-Eleven accounts, the independent groceries, the retailers, and then when it's time for you to want to go on-premise, you're able to go on-premise because they already go on-premise already as it is. It won't be a hard thing for you to work with their on-premise team and then work with their off-premise team. It works out very well. And then when it's time for you to go into the Unify, time for you to go into the Sprouts or the Whole Foods, then you'll work with the Unify KE, and that'll be something separate than the distributor that you use to go into convenience stores, to go into Walmart, to go into Target. Because your local distributor, J.J. Taylor, Jack Hilliard, and Benny Keefe, they can go into a Walmart, a Target. They can go into those type of grocery stores with no issues, or H-E-B. They can go into those grocery stores, or a Fred Meyer's, or a grocery outlet. They can go into those grocery stores with no problem and make deliveries for you. But when it comes to Whole Foods or Sprouts, they require unifying KEs. That's why a lot of times people work with those. And people prefer to work with a local distributor, like I said before, because you're able to, when you work with a local distributor, and when I keep saying local distributor, local DSD, I'm going to say their names again: Manhattan Beer, Columbia, J.J. Taylor, Benny Keefe, Silver Eagle, Reyes, Gold Coast. People prefer to work with those people better because you're able to get more ride-alongs, you're able to have better relationship with the reps, and you're also able to talk to the reps to give the reps incentives to go in to sell displays for your product, and to also have the rep just be another ambassador for your product as well, especially when you spend time with them. And if the product is selling with a great margin, then the rep is definitely going to know that, hey, I'm going to make sure I push your product to the stream. Now, has there always been companies that have signed up with local DSDs and not got what they want? Yes, that's just part of the game. That's part of the business. They're in the business of making money, just like you're in the business of making money. So you got to make sure that you give them some kind of incentive to want to push your product. You got to make sure that not only do you give them incentive to want to push your product, you got to make sure that your product is something that people want to go buy. Because if it's flying off the shelves, I'm telling you, they will be pushing it. Before Poppy got sold, Poppy was working with a lot of distributors that I was working with at my old job. And I'm telling you right now, they were pushing Poppy like crazy because Poppy would easily be sold. Poppy could easily get displays. And then Poppy was also giving out incentives to getting more displays and more displays. They were going out selling them displays, going out and pushing them. That's why you walk into a Kroger and you see these big old Poppy refrigerators and everything else, because Poppy was paying them distributors for incentives, and the local DSDs, the one I was saying, they would go in there and get it done by getting those refrigerators and getting everything else that they needed for Poppy. Because like I said before, the local DSD is the route if you have a beverage or a snack. Now, if you have something cold that has to be refrigerated, then a Core-Mark or McLean is best bet for you, because then you can work with those reps. You're going to have to push and get their store list and talk to someone, but those would be better for you because those guys have climate control trucks. The local DSDs, they may have a couple of them, but for the type of product that you have, you'll need McLean and Core-Mark, because your product may be ice cream, your product may be oatmeal that needs to be cold, and when it comes to other people, they just dealing with beer. You got time. It could be warm, it could be cold, but with yours, it always got to be cold. So, yes, that's the wrap up. I know it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm trying to give you as much as I can from all the information that I know, and just try to be as helpful as possible. I know a lot of times in some of the videos that I've already released, people have told me like, hey, Eric, man, you're just giving out so much information. I'm trying to give out so much information, trying to be as helpful as I can, because I know what it's like to just work in this type of business and then not know everything and then be like, where should I go? What should I do? I know what it's like to be in a store working for a company and then see another brand, and then you see their founders come in, and then all of a sudden you're having a question with them and they're telling you how they're new and they're figuring things out, and you just getting information from them, learning from them, and then telling them what you know. That's how I feel now. I'm just trying to give as much information I can, because there's some people out there watching this video that are founders, and you're starting off and you're wondering, what's next? Where do I go? I'm going to try to give you as much, and sometimes giving you as much can make the video go longer than I expected, but I want to make sure I give you enough information that you have, that you could be placed on the right track and on the right area of where you need to go, that you could be successful, and that you can put your company in the right sphere so that you can grow business, grow accounts, and then grow to the point where if you want funding, that's what you want to do. Or if you bootstrap it, that's what you want to do. Just bear with me. I'm sorry. I'm just want to make sure I give you as much information as I can. I know I won't be able to give you everything, but always please make sure to leave your comments below. And like every video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Or no, right here. Sorry. Hit subscribe. Right here. And remember, this is CPG 101 with your boy Eric. And thanks again.